going because out of respect for everybody's time. And I know that my dear friend Ryan is an incredible resource of information. I want to make sure that he has plenty of time to share his knowledge with all of you, and make sure that we have a little time for some questions and answers afterwards as well. So I think we're just gonna jump right on to it here, and I'm sure people will be kind of coming in as we go on here. So I am just gonna share my screen, and I am by no stretch of the imagination a Zoom expert, so bear with me and be patient. So how to thrive in a down market. First of all, my name's Darcy Novak, and I am part of the Big Life team. Together with my partners at Big Life team, we sell about 100 to 200 homes a year. We try to be really humble students of real estate. And after 18 years, I can honestly say the only thing that I know for sure is that I have so much more to learn. So we started a local mastermind in our area. And can everybody see my screen, first of all? Yeah, okay, perfect. We started a local mastermind in one of my hometown area offices, and we saw how inspiring it was for other agents, how the tips and that sense of community, we were just talking about that with Jim Jackal, that sense of community, that sense of brotherhood that he's going off on his hunting adventure right now, how important that is for our lives, as not as only professionals, but also as just human beings, right? We saw there was a real need in our industry, and so we started another online mastermind with agents from across the state and nation, and with some of my real estate friends who are really killing it in the industry. So if you don't mind, go ahead and put into chat like where you're from and what you hope to get out of this call today. That would be great. And oopsie. Very technologically challenged. I'm going to turn my chat on so I can see the chat here because I can't see my chat. So reminders of this call. First of all, obviously be kind and respectful, and we're all adults and agents, which should be just a given, but it's not always in life. No recruiting. We have a lot of different agencies on this call, and we want to make sure that we're honoring that and keeping the focus on hope and help. Please take notes and be engaged. Remember, like engagement, the way the brain works, if you write stuff down, it like activates something in the brain to help you remember it better. I go to a lot of conferences and trainings, and I'm always like writing down my notes, and then I go back to my hotel room and I type them up. And even still, with all that energy and focus, I'm still lucky if I implement 5% of what I learned and put it into the business. So it really does help to make sure that you're making notes. Ask questions. I'm probably going to have somebody help me with the chat because, oh, there we go. Ask questions, because that is obviously the name of the game for being able to learn and grow and share with everybody else that's on this call too. The goal of this mastermind is to bring different speakers in to talk about their habits and their activities and their mindsets that help them get consistent results that are not dependent on the market. So glancing at this market, and I'm going to try not to Debbie Downer you all, because this is a really terrifying slide in real estate, right? Like, look at these ebbs and flows. This is crazy. Look at those dips from 2008. And then again, you see what happened. This is what happened in COVID, right? Is like the market just tanked overnight, like literally flatline tank. And so the federal government knew they had one lever, right, to help the economy, lower those interest rates to zero, try to get things stimulated. And then they just started throwing the cash out, right? Throwing the cash out to the private sectors, throwing it out to the business sector. And then of course there was because of the cash in the market, and people got a little scared of the stock market and started pulling their money out there. And so I don't remember a time in 18 years we ever had so much cash in the market. It was just incredible, right? And so of course what happened there, we went from like nosediving to like peaking. And now you can see we're now back down onto that slide. Most of the United States is down 30 to 40% based on wherever their market is at. And it's interesting because when it's a hot market, when it's a crazy market, everybody looks like a rock star, right? Fog a mirror, you can sell houses, like everybody looks amazing. But when the market dips, that's when we start seeing our fellow comrades and colleagues start bailing out of the market like crazy. Yet what's interesting to me is like, and during every single one of those dips, we also have people who are going up in their business. We have people that are going up 20, 30, sometimes even 40% during those markets. So what are they doing, right? That's the question that we're here to ask on this Zoom and to learn more about. What are their habits? Can anybody put into the chat any habits that you think we're going to find consistent with people that are dominating the market in a downturn? What do you think some of those habits are? Any ideas? Follow up. Huge. Yeah. Huge. Hi, Adam. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely is one of them. Double down on connecting, keeping in touch with Sphere, reaching out to clients 3 to 5 years ago. It's huge, right? Keeping in contact with everybody. And those are probably the same activities that they're actually doing really consistently too, as well, right? And what about their mindset? I think they say like 90% of the game is mindset. I'm a personal believer it's 99.999% of the game is mindset. Because if you don't have the right mindset, we're already in trouble, right? So let's talk about mindset because it matters. Matters a lot. It's everything, actually. Retraining our brains to think positively, getting in the habit of actually thinking is really, really important. I have personally been doing this a lot in my life lately. There are certain like idiosyncrasies, certain habits that pop up that are negative. And actually I have some dear friends on my team that will remind me sometimes like, hey, you're doing that again. And when you become aware of something, you can start changing the habit of it. So really retraining our thoughts to start thinking more positively. Gratitude lists are really important. Gratitude is the highest vibrational frequency. Start making long mental gratitude lists when you're feeling discouraged. Show me some gratitudes in the chat box. Like what are you really grateful for today? And here's the thing about gratitude. When you share it with somebody else, it grows. So it's really important to not keep that gratitude. Sometimes I know we talk a lot about gratitude journals. One of the things we do in the morning for our team meetings is we start everyone out with gratitude. It like takes the mindset and just focuses you on the right track for the day. And I think this is a great thing to do for people who have children, right? Gratitude is something that we don't just automatically get. It's something that we're actually trained, and we can retrain and program ourselves to do it. Know your why. If you look behind me, there's like a huge poster board on my wall over here. And it says, who needs my best self today? Like, that's my why. My why is not money or things. My why is showing up as the best person that I can for the people that I care about. So it's full of lists over there of my children, my grandchild, my team, my friends, my spiritual family. Like, who am I showing up as the best version of me for today? Know your why. Put your why in front of you. Like, I have mine on my wall over here. Put it where you can see it every single day. Time block joy. I know this sounds really weird, and I brought this up to a few friends who I thought were very joyful, and they're like, I never thought about time blocking joy before. So for me, it's walking my dog in the morning and at the night. It's like the beginning of my day, thinking about everything that's coming my way, and it's at night giving thanks for a beautiful day. Like, that's my joy. Make it a non-negotiable in your day, in your schedule. Make sure you're time blocking it into your calendar. Throw into chat. I want to hear what brings you guys joy. What is it? And are you calendaring it, right? Is it actually showing up in your calendar? What brings you joy? Jim's on his way to go grouse hunting with one of his best friends. He's definitely time blocking joy into his calendar today. Sitting around the campfire with kids, playing guitar, quality one-on-one time with kids. All those are great things. Like, be very conscious and aware of your joy. When you're really down, because let's face it, when we have a market that's used to being here and we start crashing, we start taking it personally, and it starts affecting the way we talk to ourselves. So if you get to a point where you're feeling really down, serve. Go volunteer, help out a neighbor, help out a friend, get out of your own headspace, because we all know that can be a really dangerous place to be. Get out in the world and just serve somebody else. And change the voices in your head. Believe it or not, those voices are lying to you, that you're not good enough, you're not capable, you don't have what it takes, you're too new, you're too old, you're too this, you're too that. Those voices, they lie, 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 lie. So take your control back. You deserve that control. So with that, I want to introduce Sir Ryan Hansen. Personal note, Ryan has been a friend and mentor of mine for many years. And in fact, to this day, when I'm making large real estate decisions, he's literally one of my first calls. Not only are him and his beautiful and brilliant wife, Maria, not only phenomenal business icons, they sell hundreds of homes annually. They're also super solid, grounded human beings, have a solid faith. They're dedicated to learning and to become better people and in helping other people succeed. They're also incredible givers to their community. And these are just a few reasons why I absolutely adore this powerhouse couple. So I know you're all going to have questions.
Well, thanks, Darcy.
I know you're all going to have questions for Ryan, and I know I probably will too. So let me just switch this off, and then Ryan, you can take it away.
Am I a co-host so I can share?
I'm just finding you on the list here so I can
right.
hook a brother up. There we are. You should be good, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me. We are a team of, well, like 13 to 14. We have 5 or 6 agents in West Central Minnesota. So I'm currently sitting in Fergus Falls. We also have an expansion agent in Detroit Lake. So kind of cover a 60-mile radius or so between Fargo and Alexandria. So that's where we live and do our best to make a positive impact. So Sphere is very important to us. I know most agents are just focused on getting more leads. And what we find is that ultimately our best business is the ones with the people that we already have done business with. Let's see why that's not sharing. All right, can you see my slide deck? We're going to get our Sphere in gear. Everyone good with that? So I ran my numbers yesterday just to see, because I track that a lot, and 62% of our business this year on our team. And so far we've closed 240 some sides and with another 45 pending. So we're approaching 300 for the year. 62% of our business is coming from past clients, past client referrals, and broker referrals. So it's not that we don't want to get into newer relationships, but we know that we've already done added value to the people in our sphere and our past clients. And so we're going to just look at, why do we not follow up with those? It's not that lead services aren't great or marketing isn't great, but that costs a lot of money to acquire a new client. These are people that already know us and like us. So people do business with people that they know, like, trust, and then that they think about us when they do what we do. The challenge we have is that what we do, most people don't think about or need our services very often, right? It's not like a haircut or an oil change or even an annual physical. Like I think NAR's number I've seen is that because of the interest rates and other things, they're stretching the time that most people are likely to sell. You know, it was 7 years, I remember at one time, then it was 10 years. I think the number I saw NAR in the last month was up to 13 years. So that's 13 years between the time where you had a past client to before you're likely going to do business with them again. That's a really long time. So we need to be able to get in front of people and add value to them so that they think about us, not only when they do things, but when they have other people in their world that are either buying, selling, or investing in real estate. Any questions? Anyone love to work with past clients?
Heck yes.
I hear that from newer agents, like, I'd love past clients. The challenge with that is in order to have a past client, you got to have them be a client the first time around, right? And so we need to add value and get as many of those opportunities in our world as possible. So we focus on the lead generation model. In order for your business to grow, you must feed your business with leads. Like, we must have people at the top of the funnel in order to be able to have enough opportunities at the bottom. And I think that is one of the huge challenges we're seeing. Darcy mentioned around mindset. And it is very difficult in our current business. The numbers that we've seen are over the last 2 years or so, the average US averaged about 6.2 to 6.4 million sales. When you double that, that's 12 to 13 million sides. And this year, we just got numbers from Goldman Sachs last week that's saying that they're believing that we're probably going to be at about 3.8 to 3.9 million sales this year. That means that's substantially fewer transactions that are being done. So what does that mean if there's fewer houses? It means that we're going to have to work harder to find those opportunities in order to be able to, not only survive, but ideally thrive in our market. So we focus on Sphere. In order to grow your business, you must feed your business with leads. Working your database and your agents working theirs is the foundation for a business that lasts. I've heard a database called many things. Data bank is another one. Like, people are like going to the bank. Like when a real estate agent or brokerage sells, there is very little value in there except for the value of the business in the database. So a healthy database, are we keeping track of who we're talking to, what kind of opportunities are there, and a way to follow up? And I get asked a lot, well, which database do you use? Which CRM do you use? I've used many over the years. We love Brivity now, but any CRM you have that you consistently use is better than some shiny object that you put things into for a month or two and then don't do anything with it again. So the Sphere, mindset around your Sphere. So this is a chart from NAR from 2020. Asking about, well, how did we find the real estate agent? And I know most of us who've been in the business for a while have seen similar charts. And so 39% of the people found the agent that they worked with. They were referred to by a friend, neighbor, or relative. And another 27% used the agent that they previously used to buy or sell a home. So if you look at that, the top two are referral and a past client, and everything else is single digit opportunity after that. So it's not to say that there aren't other things that are important, but when you can't do everything well, focusing on the things that are going to provide the biggest opportunity will give you the ability to have the biggest business possible. Does that surprise anyone in here? Locked into an office, 1%. If we looked at this 20 or 30 years ago, it's very different. Relocation company 2 overall. So these other activities are good for rounding out a solid business, but focusing on your Sphere and getting those referrals is really the way to have a sustainable business. So another one from NAR, would the buyer use the real estate agent again or recommend to others? 75% said, yeah, they definitely would recommend them to others. And 15% said probably. So we're sitting at 90% of the people would refer us to other people that they run into. But why doesn't that happen? Clearly, there's a gap between what the consumer says they're going to do, our clients, and then what actually happens. So where does that gap come in?
Apathy.
We think that we wowed and amazed them, and we probably did. But what they think is we're transactional. They want to buy a house, sell a house. They just came to us for that thing, and they accomplished their thing. So why should we be in? Why do we have any additional relationship? And one of the big mindsets I've had the last couple of years is really focusing on not being, their real estate agent of choice, but their real estate consultant. When I have financial consultants, they'll call me once a year and say, "Hey, I'm your financial planner." It's just normal that we meet to talk once a year, to go into the office. I'm not worried about anything. I get my account every month, but I can still, we go meet for something. So that's just a realistic, that's just what they do. So why is it that real estate agents don't focus more on adding value over the long term instead of just that transaction? And we got paid and it was great. And we think that we wowed them in such a way. They loved their house. It was smooth. It was great. And so any person that they ever run into for the next 13 years, they're going to tell about us and how amazing we were. Like, no one thinks about us as much as we do. So we need to be proactive about getting back to those and getting in front of people so that we can add value. So why Sphere works so well? You face less rejection. They already trust you. So trust is already established. So you don't have to earn their trust. You already have it. You're committed to the outcome. Working your Sphere compounds. It's not all business. It's not to say that we don't like working. Like, I love helping people and being involved in real estate. But it's not all business, right? Sphere, people you hang out with and other reasons, and not just people that are buying and selling real estate. And reciprocity feels good. Like, most of the time, clients would love to help us, but they don't really know how to help us because we haven't shown them what to do. Like, we teach people how to treat us. I used to be a securities broker years ago, so I know that world. And so I've got 3 securities investment bankers and securities brokers that I work with. One of them sends me about 6 or 7 referrals a year, and one has not sent me a referral in the 15 years that we've known each other and done business together. So what's the difference? The one that refers me 6 or 7 people a year was a real estate agent, and I helped him on his first real estate deal. And so not only did we, get into business together, became friends, he's a phenomenal resource. So reciprocity feels good. Like, he understands what we're doing and is happy to refer clients to us, and I'm happy to do the same for him. Why Sphere doesn't produce? Like I mentioned, we expect that they'll just remember us, that we were so amazing. So, we just did things for them. We got them into houses on Sunday nights. We hired a cleaner, like whatever the things were. We just thought that we did such an amazing job that they're always going to remember us. And memories are fading quickly. We failed to stay in touch. That's on us. Like, if they didn't know we were going to have a multi-decade relationship, and that's really what we wanted, and we didn't reach out to them for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years later, and then they go and list their house with somebody else when they go to sell, and then we're mad that they didn't call us. Well, why was that? Is that on them, or is that on us? I'd say we're the professionals, so we need to take ownership of the fact that we just don't do a good enough job keeping in touch with people. And we don't look for new signs. There's new opportunities. Like, are we spending time on social media or out in events, just in the public? Are we connected to them in such a way that we could identify whether there's opportunities for them or someone they know to do what we do? We send spam. I love it when I get 5 or 6 messages to turn my clock back, or the start of some sports season, whatever that is. All of a sudden, I get the same kind of thing from a whole bunch of group of realtors, or a whole bunch of mortgage lenders, or a whole bunch of investment bankers. Like, well, they're all using the same system. I feel really important that I got that from 18 different people today. So are we sending things that actually add value, or is it just something that we want to do to get our face in front of them again? And we can't build rapport on the phone. The whole goal is to have face-to-face. Like, this is a belly-to-belly full contact sport. We're in the people business. If real estate can be done just on the phone or by an email or a text message, then realtors lose. because we need to be in the people business. Technology can take the place with AI and other things. Like, we have to be in the relationship business, and the best way to build a relationship is to do it in person. So it doesn't mean we can't use systems for follow-up, or we can't add value, or text someone or go on socials and message them and say we're thinking about them. But ultimately, we need to be on the phone, or we need to see them in person. And oftentimes, why doesn't it produce? Because we focus on the wrong message. We focus on us instead of them. Calling someone just to, you haven't talked to them for a year, and you say, hey, boy, time flies. Hey, do you know anyone that wants to call, that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Yeah. What's the likelihood they're going to take your call the next year when you call them? Probably not very good. So we need to be focused on what's in it for them and not just what's in it for us. Any thoughts, questions? Any of this ring true to you?
All a big amen.
So first, we got to identify, well, who should even be in our sphere? Like, on our team, we talk a lot about the fact that every person is equal, but not every opportunity is. And so there are certain relationships that you can have your core cheerleaders that are going to make a way bigger impact in your business and your life than other people. It doesn't mean that you don't care about those other people, but it means you better spend more time with them. You better give them the VIP treatment and let them know how special they are in your world and how much you appreciate them, or they're not going to be special very long. So who belongs in your sphere? Friends and friends of friends. Like, that's the biggest one. Those people that are connectors, that really have a way of putting people together and being in the right room with the right people at the right time. Most of those are not immediate friends. It's the friends of the friends. How do you get in front of and be introduced to people that are the friends of the friends? Family and extended family. Like, I love going on showings where people bring their parents and their kids. Why? Because that gives me a future opportunity to make an impact. They already are there. They trust the client we're working with, trust these other people enough to come in person and bring them with. Well, great. Well, we get reciprocity there, because, well, if this person trusts us, well, then we should trust this person too. Great. They're prospecting for us. So how can we get in positions where we can be introduced to other people's family, extended family, friends, past coworkers? I know I got my first sale, my first listing in real estate almost 20 years ago from a past coworker. They said, hey, I know someone wants to sell the house. They're getting a job relocation. I'm like, did you tell them that I've never sold another house in my life? They're like, well, that doesn't matter. Like, they trust you. Like, I trust you. I told them you're great. And so now they trust you too. Great. We didn't screw it up. We got the house sold, but I would have never gotten that first opportunity if I hadn't been given that opportunity by somebody else that I'd worked with that already trusted us. Social media, like, it's a great way to stay connected. It does not take a lot of effort. I mean, it can be a complete time vampire, so don't let it suck your time. But if you make being on socials a strategic part of how you stay in touch with your sphere, like, I'm going to make sure I reach out to a certain number of people, or I'm going to make sure I only spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever a day, or every Friday from 9 to 9:30, I'm going to make sure that I haven't missed anything from the week. Like, making that a part of your plan so that you have a system for follow-up is super important. Neighbors. Hey, they already know you and hopefully they like you. They know a lot of people too. Vendors, professionals. This is one that I use a lot. Kayla on our team came because I talked to a lender, and I ask everyone that I'm in touch with, whether it's title company, other lenders, other real estate agents. I just say, rock stars, no rock stars. Who do you know that wowed or amazed you or impressed you this week? Like, I just like to know who amazing people are. Like, I've been introduced to librarians and high school kids and seniors, like, all scope of it, where it's my goal is to just be a people person and to find out where the people are. I don't need to just go talk to people like, who's the top real estate agent or who's the top lender. And like, I just want to meet all people. And I know that great people know other great people. And so the more great people I meet, the more great people I meet. And current clients and past clients, I mean, those are just a phenomenal resource. You've already helped them. You already, help them achieve something. They want to give you something back. It's just we're not doing a good enough job and being clear on how they can help us, and then we're not asking them. So like when you're asking for a referral for something, do you just say, do you know anyone who wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Or are we saying, you know what? We've really got a shortage of houses right now, especially in that $200,000 to $400,000 range. Do you know anyone that, this month would potentially be willing to sell? Being more specific on what you're asking for helps people go from just the vast, I don't know anyone. Well, do you know anyone about this thing? And it does, you can just watch people's eyes and watch them kind of narrow in. I don't think so, but I wonder if, and so can we be more strategic about how we go reach out to people and anyone that knows your name? So those are people that are in your sphere somehow or another. You have brand awareness, neighborhood awareness, agent awareness, like they're thinking of you. So how can we use that to our benefit? We got to feed that database. So go through your cell phone, Facebook, email, LinkedIn, all the places. Have everything get down to one source. Like I love sticky notes, and sticky notes are not my sole way of keeping contact. That's why Darcy and I are such good friends. It's a great way to get information down, but make sure that we're doing something with it. So do we have a system in place? So every day, every week, every morning, every afternoon, whatever it is, all the people that we're reaching out to during the day and the week, are we getting them into our database so that we can actually do something with them? It is mind-blowing how many opportunities agents miss out on because we just aren't that systematic or organized. We just, I got busy, or that thing ran long, or I just do this. And all of a sudden a week goes by and a month goes by and then a year goes by. And it's like, man, I found sticky notes with some people that were looking for some stuff. And I'm sure they probably bought by now. So organize your sphere. Make sure you have names, address, phone numbers, emails, what kind of social profiles you have of theirs. Get them into one place so that you can do something with them. And that's a follow-up plan. So we should be calling our sphere at least once a month. We said that 90% of the people would do business with us if we reached out to them when they are a past client or someone who knows a past client or within our sphere. And so why are we missing out? Because we're not calling them. I don't know. What would we say to them if we called them? So once a month, we should be reaching out to our sphere, and it's very simple. Who do you know that I should know? Like that's a pretty soft one, right? Hey, I saw that your kids are going to a new school. How's that going? Have you met any amazing people there? Who do you know, or who have you met there that I should know? That's a very easy one to get people talking. Calling, make it personal, be sincere and empathetic. Take notes. That's where having a CRM is super important. Making sure that when you call them, you can reference something that's important. People think I have a phenomenal memory, and as it turns out, my memory isn't very good. But I have a very good system for follow-up, and so that allows me to look impressive instead of just calling and asking the same thing. How's your spouse? Oh, sorry, I forgot they died 2 years ago. Yeah, that's embarrassing. No one's going to do business with you if they feel like you're just a number, or that you're just trying to get something and you're not trying to give anything. Quick look at their social profiles, as you're dialing. You don't have to spend 10 minutes prepping, but can you just pull it up and see, well, what's new in their world? It's easy to go comment on when you're on the phone with them. Then make them ask you about real estate. It's one thing to say, hey, real estate's great, and this is it's a challenging market, but we're really, really excited for it. The opportunities, we're having to work harder, but people are out there. That's different than saying, hey, how's your business going? How's your work going? How are things in your life? Inevitably, people do reciprocate. I don't know, maybe it's just a Minnesota thing. I've only lived in Minnesota, North Dakota, but I think it happens in Austin and other places of the country too, that people don't like to be too selfish. They might go on for a while and talk about themselves, but eventually they come around to, oh yeah, hey, how are things in your world? Make sure you've got your 30-second or 15-second elevator pitch to make sure that you're adding value. No one wants to do business with an Eeyore. So make sure that you've got something positive. Even in challenging moments, there's always something positive to look for. And if not, that's on you to find it. Come from curiosity. Just be curious. I get asked all the time. I was like, you're like a 12-year-old. Like, you ask so many questions. I was just on a session last week, and they were talking about the average person stops asking like 4 questions. They feel like they're interrogating somebody. This was in sales. Most salespeople stop asking questions after 4 questions. And yet most people aren't offended by the number of questions or really feel like they're being interrogated until like question 14. And so there is a big gap between the 4 questions we're asking as salespeople and the 14 where they're really annoyed and do want to hang up on us. And so what they found is the magic really comes where you learn their why, or where you bonded, or where they're likely going to pick up your next call somewhere between the 8th question and the 12th question. So come from curiosity. Make sure that we're asking those questions and that we're sincere about it. People can tell if we're just asking, the questions to read the list, the telemarketer prompt. Well, when they say this, then we say this, or you miss what they're saying because we're so focused on the next thing we're going to say instead of listening to really what's important to them. Offer to help them. How can we help? Offer something of value. What is it that we have value in? Do we have an event coming up we could invite them to? Do we know that they like to read and there's an author in town? Is there some public event that's coming up and they do photos, or Christmas, with Santa? Whatever those things are, we don't have to put on all these events and do everything. We just have to be the connector between the people, what they find important, and how we can connect them to that. Anything on here stand out?
I had a question for you. How do you determine what's value? What fits the qualifications for the Hansen team on what is an item of value?
To me, it's way lower than people think, as long as we're consistent about it. I think the challenge we have is because we reach out to people so little, we think the thing we have of value has to be amazing. Otherwise, it's a complete waste of their time. And so I look at what other people do. And as long as you're consistent, is it a newsletter? It can be a recipe. It can be whatever those things are. So the bar is really, really low. But for me, I like to learn. So was there a book I read? Was there a podcast I listened to? Was there, something I saw online that made me think of them? That's how I introduce almost everything that I send to someone. Hey, this made me think of you. I might have sent it to 50 people, because if they're all real estate agents that are struggling and it touched me, I would think it would touch them too. So I thought about them enough to say, here's something I listened to, or here's something I read. So that's one of the things that's really challenged me to continue to be a lifelong learner, is that I need to make sure I add value to the people around me, or why would they want to take my call, or why would they want to be around me at all? If I'm the same as I was 6 months or a year ago, then we don't need to have a new conversation. But instead, because people know that I'm always learning, teaching, talking to people, getting myself in different rooms, that chances are we're going to have something to talk about different this week than last week. Does that answer your question? I don't send them trinkets. I send them, usually it's knowledge, or, starting off anything with, hey, this made me think of you, or I was thinking about you. Who's going to object to that? Like, no one says, dang it, you're my real estate agent. I didn't want you thinking about me after closing. No, it was like, hey, it made me think of this. Here's a colonial house, or I saw this picture of a house that reminded me of your house. I take screenshots and just text them to people. There's, it's nothing elaborate or super expensive. It just is sincere. Like, sincerely, this is something I found valuable. And so you mean something to me. I was thinking about you, and here you go. So your questions. So what do we ask this sphere when we haven't been paying attention to them as much as we should, based on how important they are in our world? Are you curious about the value of your home? So especially with past clients, do we have ways of getting in front of them? So I know lots of agents that do this, especially in the winter months up north where the market gets slower. Can you set up times to be their real estate wealth advisor? Like, I've heard lots of different terms used, but do you have a way of being able to get in touch with them and say, hey, the real estate market's changed a lot in the last year. Would you have any interest of knowing, what your largest asset could potentially be worth in today's market? Well, I'd never sell because of the interest rate. totally get that. Would you be curious to know what it would look like if you did sell? There's just, can we add value? And anyone who bought a home should be curious about what their value, and we can do a better job of helping them with that value than just running an algorithm on Zillow. Do you want to know what's going on in your neighborhood? Most people don't admit it, but there's a reason why when a sign goes up in their neighborhood, they're all curious about it. So do you have ways of being able to, when a house comes on a market in a certain neighborhood, sending that to the people in your database? Is your database thorough enough and systematic enough so you can find out who's nearby that you could send that information to? Do you want to know what the general market conditions are? I tell people now, if I had $1 for each time someone asked me, is anyone buying a house with 8% interest rates? I'd be a multi-millionaire probably just in the last month. Anyone else get that question? So they can either get that information from somebody who doesn't know or really care about them, or somebody they just accidentally bumped into, or something they saw on TV, or they can get it from us. And so I'd rather be from us. That way I know that they're getting good information. They don't have to be scared off by what's happening around the country. We can give them something that's very hyper local and specific to their property and their needs. Is it time to sell your home? Should you be refinancing right now? Most people would not think about refinancing. I think 98% or 95% of the people currently have an interest rate lower than what the current rates are. But there are reasons for it. The people that are likely motivated to move right now are the 3Ds: divorce, and diapers, right? We've got these, and then people that are dying. Like, regardless of what interest rates are doing, those things happen. And so there are times when maybe refinancing is something they should look into. So what I start with, and this is the one that is just the easiest way to start, like, I'm going to commit for the end of this year or for 2024, I'm going to commit to being a better person with my sphere. This is the call I start with every time. And I use it multiple times a year because I have good systems and good intentions, and I don't always have great execution. So inevitably, I'm apologizing to people nonstop. I apologize. You know what? I really appreciated working with you last year, and I got no excuse other than I failed in being able to be your real estate agent for life, like I told you I wanted to be. Like whatever expectation it was you set up. I apologize that I wasn't a better friend. And here's what I'm going to do going forward. So don't overpromise and underdeliver, because the only thing worse than breaking a promise once is breaking a promise twice. But say, I'm committed this year to making sure that I'm your real estate agent of choice. I'm your wealth advisor, whatever term you want to use. Make sure that you own it, and then have a system for follow-up, because you don't want to break that promise twice. We got to be promise keepers. What are your real estate related plans for the year? One we use a lot is, especially in where we have 4 distinct seasons, as the seasons change, so do people's real estate plans. Anything changed since the last time we talked? Like, that's a pretty easy one. In Minnesota, if you can't talk about the Twins or the Vikings, it is always the weather. So weather's an easy one. Do you have any real estate related questions? And if they don't have any, can throw out interest rates. Yeah, I'm not doing anything till interest rates go down. Yeah, we hear that a lot. And so the interesting thing about interest rates is that what most people are really concerned about is their payment. And a payment's not only made up of the interest rate, but it's also made up of how much money a person needs to borrow. And so did you know that when interest rates go down, prices tend to go up because more people enter the market and there's more competition? And so ultimately, if the only reason you're waiting is because you want a cheaper rate, what you really want is a cheaper payment, and your payment likely could go up. Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe we should have some more conversations about that. But we don't know what's important to them unless we ask the question. I could really use your help. This is that one about reciprocity. People like to help us. They just don't know how to do it. And so, hey, you know what? I could really use your help. This has been a challenging year. Real estate market overall is down 30% in some markets. I could sure use your help. And do you know anyone that is thinking about buying in your neighborhood, or do you have any coworkers, do you have any family? However you like to ask for that referral script, this is a good introduction. And it works infinitely better if we've been a promise keeper and followed up with them 1 or 2 or 3 or 6 months or 2 years before that. Would you be offended? We have a good friend that uses this a lot. Would you be offended if I, asked for to be introduced to your friend? Like you see a coworker, you see, in talking to them that they have a new person. I just had this happen 2 nights ago. They got a new person at work. I'm like, well, I haven't met your new person at work yet, so I would love to. So, would you be offended if you could introduce me to your friend? We've had a good experience in finding a house. Would you be offended to introduce me to them so I could help them with that process as well? Very few people that you're working with are going to say, I'm offended by it. So you often can push further than you think by kind of setting it off with that phrase first. Have you ever considered moving? Well, not in this interest rate environment. Have you ever considered buying? Have you ever considered buying an investment property? Have you ever considered? Like, it's a softer way to ask the question, and it's a good introduction. I know you would do the same for me. Like, that's one where, well, I know you'd give me that shirt off your back. So I know that if you were in real estate, you'd want to introduce me to everyone that you know. And I do the same for you, right? If any of your friends or family express an interest in buying or selling a home, it'd be an honor to work with them, right? We see that on a lot of business cards. I'd be honored if I could work with someone you know. So phone calls, that's how we do that, at least once a month. Another once a month. Are we getting out in front of them and adding value to them and just letting them know that we're thinking about them? Postcards and mailings can get expensive, so be intentional about it. So we're not saying, hey, go send out 10,000 postcards or letters in a mail and just throw it out there and see what sticks. But for your core sphere, your cheerleaders that are going to move your business the most forward, whether that's 5 people or 10 people or 100 people, depending on your business, are we sending them a little note that just says we're thinking about them? Are we sending out postcards? Are we inviting them to our events? Are we sending a handwritten letter? Do we have a house anniversary, or do we have a birthday or an anniversary? Do we have something that we can send to them that just makes them think, hey, they remember us. We're not just a number, that we're being thought of. Do you have any discount lists, or do you have contractors or stagers? Like, I get asked all the time, who do you know that can do this or this or this? That information is valuable. Get it out to people. Share it. Emailing your sphere is important. Keep it short. Don't bore them. Add items of value. Like I said, is there something you read, saw, talked about, learned in the last week or month that you can go pass that on to somebody? And then you can email that invitation as well. One of the things on events that I learned a few years ago that was immensely impactful in my business was the sorry we missed you. So many people spend tons of money on an event that they're going to hold, and then the people don't show up, and then that's all there is to it. And so I can't remember, it was a book called like the $6,000 Egg or something like that. And it's about, we want to be inclusive. Like, we want to be thought of and we want to be included in a group. And so for your events, if you are not following up with people afterwards and say, sorry, we missed you, you are getting, you're missing out on half the opportunity there, because most of the time when you do something, more people will not show up than show up. So being able to let them know that you thought of them, and not only did you invite them, but you noticed that they weren't there. And so we'd love to see at your next event. It increases the likelihood they're going to attend something in the future, but it also just makes them feel really special that that they were noticed even in their absence. Market reports. So we send out any past client, we have their address because we sold them the house, and we send them out every 2 weeks. We send them out a notice on what the current market's doing. And so, is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? Is it hotter or colder than it was the last 2 weeks when we sent out the report? What are the homes that sold in their neighborhood? Because everyone's just curious about their nest egg. And then face-to-face. Do we have events? Like our team, we do 4 events a year, quarterly, because it's a lot easier to call people and follow up with them when we're giving something of value. So we make sure that We are getting in front of the people, or at least we're giving them the option to be in front of us, and us and them at least 4 times a year. So at least 3 months a year, can you do something to get in front of people? Pop bys, drop things off, meet them for coffee, have a meal, do a client event, teach a class, invite them to something. Like, we don't have to be the content creators for all these things. All we have to do is connect people with other people that are doing something of value. I think that's a big one that people miss out on, is they think that they can't piggyback on somebody else's event because they didn't create it. No, it's like, hey, they're having a concert in the park on Sunday night. I'm planning to be there. I'd love to see you there. You didn't say you were going to go buy them a ticket. You didn't say, for sure you were going to do all these things. It's just, we're taking an opportunity that somebody else is already doing and using it as an opportunity to stay in touch with people. So are we being intentional about the things that are out there and inviting them to it and meeting to it? And that's a super effective way to not sit around going, I just don't know what else I could do this quarter. Piggyback off of somebody else, and then go to places where they hang out. We're in the people business. Just go do it. Are we reaching out on social media at least once a month? Are we commenting on things that are important to them? That's what I got. That's how we stay in front of our sphere.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. That was incredible. I actually have several notes that I will be bringing back to our team tomorrow and asking, what things they want to implement. So thank you. I have a question for you as far as, earlier we were talking about how people who are going up in a downturn market, like, what are their habits and what things are they doing consistently? And what is their mindset? Can you share with us kind of a little bit about your habits, what things you're doing consistently, and how you kind of maintain a positive mindset when things are maybe not going as planned?
Oh, they always go as planned, right? No. We just do the same. Like, I've told people that's my superpower, is just being boring. Like, it's easy to say, well, you see an agent that got a big sale, and then coincidentally that same day you see that they have a big billboard or a park bench or something like that. We're like, oh, they must have got that big sale. Like, real estate agents have the SOS syndrome, the shiny object syndrome, as much or more than like any industry. And so I just try to stay focused on the things that I know. Like, what I know is I need to be structured. So everything in my life is in my calendar. Like, it is super boring, but it has helped me be consistent. And so every high achieving book, article, podcast, anything I've ever listened to is like, first you got to have a plan, then you got to write it down, you got to visit it often, and then you got to have other people in your world hold you accountable to it. So I have 10, 12 people that are always have access to my schedule at all times. They might not know why the stuff is in there, but it holds me accountable to it. So tonight I'm going to Home Depot at 6 p.m. Does anyone else on my team need to know that? No, but I got to go pick up something. And if I don't do it tonight, it's not going to get picked up. It's going to get shipped back. So it's in my calendar. So it's important to be in there, right? And so, do we have the important things in our calendar? So our team starts at 8:15 every morning, and we have a power up from 8:15 to 8:45. And so we always start with gratitude. So, like, a person can have a bad day or a bad few days or even a bad week. But if you as a human being have more than one bad week, that's on you. Like, that's just a bad attitude. Like, life is not that bad. You're just focusing on the wrong things. So every morning we start at 8:15 on our team, either by Zoom or in person. And we start with gratitude. We can't frown and smile at the same time. So there's got to be something in the day that was positive. And so we get in that cadence and a rhythm of positivity in the morning. And so that helps do everything else. And then we just talk about the challenges we've had. What's a win? What's a challenge? How do we get through that? And then we focus on our skills. Like, we practice in here so that we're not practicing out there. The challenge is, like, people just think, oh, I'm just going to have divine intervention, or I'm just going to rise to the occasion when that great opportunity comes along. Well, no, we're gonna rise to the level of practice that we put into it. And if we didn't put into it in the office, it's not going to be amazing out there. And then we practice scripting. So from 8:45 to 9 o'clock every morning, like, yeah, it feels dumb sometimes, and it's like, well, this is like the same thing we've been talking about forever. But I can't tell you the number of times that our agents and our team, that very morning is like, you're never going to believe it. Someone had an objection to having an appointment, and it was the same, like, we just did the same thing we just talked about. This is amazing. How did you know I was going to talk to this person? Well, because I've talked to hundreds of thousands of people in my life, and like it's just common that they're going to say, "Hey, do you want to buy a house from me?" And they say no, and we talk about it, right? And so whatever those things are, we're getting mentally prepared, so we're not practicing on the client because there's only so many opportunities. We just said there's going to be 4 or 5 million fewer opportunities from real estate agents this next year, or even this year compared to 2 years ago. I don't have that many practice shots. Like I'm always in the game. So, doing it on our team is just the only way that I have to get better without losing the opportunities when there's so fewer of them. And then we just like we know what things we need to do, and now we're doing more of them. So it hasn't changed how many people that I need to talk to in order to have a conversation to get to an appointment, but we're doing more of it. And so we can get a buyer up. We have quite a few buyer representation agreements, but it is taking a lot longer for buyers to find, like, they don't have the sense of urgency. And so it's great that we have buyers that we're working with, but if they're not finding anything or having a sense of urgency to buy something, we need to be having more conversations. So we have just been stretching out. So we typically make phone calls from 9 to 11, and now several agents on the team are calling from 9 to 12 because they're just realizing what a big difference that is making in their business, and that as much as they'd like to go back to 2 years ago, that isn't an option. So we don't have anyone on the team looking for a time machine. We just are focusing on the things we can control, which is the activity. We can't control the outcome, but what we can do is control the activity, and then the outcome will come. So for us, we're just doing more of the same things that we were doing. Do we like it? No, some days it's a lot harder than others, but we know we're going to get there because we're doing the right things.
Yeah, it's awesome. Because I know that a lot of these people don't know, Ryan, will you share how many homes you sold last year and how many of those you personally did?
So last year, our team sold 100, we served 329 families. And out of that, I helped 168.
Yeah, he's an anomaly. He's a beast for reals. Now, are you committing to your lead gen time from 9 to 11?
Yes.
Is that one of your habits?
Yes, it is in my calendar. And then when it's not, so today we had 20 students from the high school come and want to learn about real estate. So my time today, I got an hour in this morning, and I've got an hour right as soon as we're done here. So the nice thing about having everything in your calendar is when something else comes and needs to get reprioritized, you can erase and replace. So I've always got the calendar up on I got 3 screens. I've always got my calendar is always staring at my as a visual accountability partner. And so if something's getting in the way, doesn't mean that I don't get interrupted with things, but I'm less likely to get interrupted when I have a plan. The challenge is most real estate agents don't have a plan, so they feel like they're interrupted, but they didn't have anything in their calendar, and so they say yes to a lot of things that they shouldn't have said yes to.
Awesome. Shauna, did you have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought I saw your hand raised. Who else has a question for Ryan? Anybody? Otherwise, I'll keep firing away. Another question that I had, Brian, is, there was a training I was on a week or two or maybe more ago, and it said, stop going to take the listing. Start going to build the relationship. And it's something that's really stuck in my head the last few weeks is like, what a mindset shift that is. I feel like I've always felt like I was going to build the relationship, but I think first I was going to get the listing. Now I'm just going to like really deep dive on who they are as people and asking a lot of questions. What do your value touches look like that you're able to like build that relationship to serve that many families?
To me, being the connector, I want to be their resource for life, not just the realtor for life. And so, like, when someone asks, "Oh, where should I get my hair cut?" Like, I take that as an honor. Like, hey, you go ask me about accountants, like whatever the things are. Where should I get my car serviced? Like, I want them to, if they thought about me about something like that, that's great, because they're going to think about me when they're talking to somebody else about real estate. And so I just look at every conversation, and I talk to our agents a lot about this, is as a puzzle, right? And so we don't know what that puzzle looks like. So my job and my role is not to sell them something over the phone in the first conversation. I'm just constantly trying to ask questions to fill in the puzzle so that I know exactly what I'm looking for. So like I'm trying to find the four corners. Like, has anyone ever put a puzzle together without the box? It gets really hard, right? So I'm just trying to figure out what's the picture on that box. I need to know what are their four corners, what's important to them, what motivates them. We know that most people move towards pleasure or away from pain, but most people don't have something exciting enough or painful enough to get them to move at all. So most people, especially in our current market, are just static. So I just need to know what's important to them. Why, what would it look like if this happened? And so we just constantly ask questions. So every time I'm on a call, I just want to be able to log something in my CRM that I got at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 of those puzzle pieces, so I get a better picture of what it is that's important to them, because we win because we help other people win first. And so I just need to know what's a win for them, and then I can go work on accomplishing that for them. So for me, it's just coming from curiosity, asking questions. I'm not trying to sell them something, because I know that the real opportunity is the relationship we're going to build and the people they're going to introduce me to. It's not that one sale.
It's awesome, Ryan. Thank you so much. I learned so much from you all the time. You are always so giving. And for those of you that are on the call, like if you ever wanted to privately ask Ryan questions, I guarantee you he will be more than happy to, because it's just the type of human he is. So thank you so much for sharing today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So our goal here will be to find other people in the industry who are far smarter than myself to keep bringing us information and giving us tools and tips to be able to help us to really dominate through this time, because it is going to be survival of the fittest. So let's get in shape. Let's do it. If anybody has any ideas, any topics that they would like to hear discussed in upcoming ones, if you want to throw that in the chat, because we'll make sure to record that. And I will do my best to find some of my friends across the country who are crushing it in those roles, and see if we can steal an hour of their time next month. So if there's anything in particular, feel free to put it down. And thank you everybody for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. So don't hesitate to reach out if you got any questions. Many blessings. Don't forget to chat.